What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm J-Lag.
And I'm Envy.
And we are recapping and reviewing Riverdale Season 6, Episode 3. And it's called Chapter 98, Mr. Cypher. Ooh.
And don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending of the podcast. We're going to go through our recap roundups, our best moments of the episode, our MVPs, LVPs, who we liked, who we didn't like, our best lines, and some of your roundups too. So be sure to stick around for the end of the podcast because we'll go through that.
And as always, to our continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel because we want you to join the channel.
And we have things coming.
So exciting. So exciting. But let's get into Riverdale / Rivervale. Episode 4. Are we on episode 3? 3 of like this new mini series that they started.
Right.
Overall thoughts. What were your thoughts of this episode?
Love it. Loved it. Loved it. Like, again, like we're hearing a lot of good comments from you guys as well. Like you guys are messaging us on IG, on Twitter, and like you guys are really liking this new style. It is very like they've taken what they already have done with Riverdale and they just like amplified it, and it is working right now for the show. I'm glad it's like a little mini series within the larger series. Having said that, love this episode. I loved how much Reggie and Veronica like got really like their story was like, I'm like,
it got good.
Like, what is going on? Like, this is messed up.
Yeah.
Loved it. What did you think?
I really enjoyed it too. I think that to your point, like it's just been an enjoyable ride so far. So I'm just sitting on this ride, amusement park ride, and I'm just like, cool, interesting. Wow, that's interesting.
Scary.
And very scary. This episode
was scary.
The devil is scary.
When they did that, like that, like
black
flash
and white
frame,
flash?
I was like,
ugh. I didn't like that.
It was scary.
It was scary. And it's been really, there's a lot of magic pieces that we can talk about later.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about that in terms of context to the rest of the world. And I'm sure we have had these conversations about like, what does the magic mean in Riverdale? Are we cool with that moving forward? But anyway, we'll discuss it when we get there. But otherwise, it's been a really like this episode.
Yeah,
I love the fact that like the devil literally comes to Riverdale.
Literally,
and,
like Louis Cypher.
Louis Cypher. Like, they really
like,
did that.
Calm the F down, like trying to make like a riddle of your name. And I love how like Veronica later was like, okay, like calm down.
But the gag is I didn't figure it out until she said it. I was
like, I knew it.
Okay.
But when she said it, it like cracked me up because I was like, she's like the audience being like, okay, I got it now.
Yeah.
It was
I
cute.
Didn't catch that, so it was funny.
It was cute.
Okay, let's get into this episode. So it starts right off with Jughead as the narrator once again, and he picks up a book. So it's almost like he's like this Tales from the Crypt guy who's like reading a story and is like, this is the story of the Devil's Holiday who comes to Riverdale and does some stuff. So
do you feel like, let me ask you real quick, do you feel like his storylines have sort of been like underwhelming a little bit, or are you happy with all his storylines?
So far, I'm okay with what's been going on. Like last episode, obviously we got a big thing with him and Tabitha and that whole drama. And I think it does feed into like the canon part of the story, which is like they're having relationship issues, moving in together, and it was a cool way of addressing it, right? Like I enjoyed that they did it this way instead of like us seeing the boring version of it, which would be like the real Riverdale. And then this episode, I wasn't in love with his like reasoning behind it and like why he ended up doing what he did. So we can talk about it further when we get to that part. But I wasn't really sold on the fact that he would have sold his soul for what he ended up doing. But outside of that, I mean, I don't know. A part of me almost feels like I could have been totally fine with him just being the narrator of this.
Me too.
Miniseries.
Me too.
To be honest,
like you're right. Last week was good with him and Tabby. Like I did enjoy that.
I think
this episode, I felt more like I don't think I needed him in it as much. And same with a bit of Betty. Like I know Betty's was very important to like discuss. We'll get to it after, but like I felt like Veronica and Reggie were holding the episode so tightly that I was like, Jughead, I'm like, I don't even know what you're doing right now. Like what are you like, why are you selling your soul
pointless
right now?
Exactly.
So but you're right, like last week he did really I did enjoy it last week.
One of the questions that I do have for you, since we're just talking about it right off the top, do you miss Archie? Archie's literally not even existing.
No, I actually didn't this episode. I didn't. I do miss the fact that like no one has mentioned him. Like I think it would have been nice if someone was like, damn, like since Archie's been gone, it's been like like one line of like just saying Archie's name, but like they act like he never even existed. And even like Cheryl, we didn't even get a scene from her this episode, and I didn't really really miss her, to be honest. There was so many things happening that like I didn't feel like I missed her.
Because also she's not an idiot. She would never make the deal with the devil. she's too smart for that shit. Everybody else, yeah.
True. Exactly. That's true.
Everybody else is the loser. She's the only one that wouldn't.
Do you feel like they could have made another connection? Like they could have brought like the devil from Sabrina?
1,000,000,000%. I think that would have been so much better. That would have been
so cool.
Not that this guy wasn't a bad actor by any means, but like he is Lucifer in the Greendale, Riverdale world.
Yeah.
So I was like, why?
Like, how many Lucifers are there?
I know. I was just like, is he gonna get vanquished and like the real one's gonna come at the end of the episode? Like a part of me almost felt like he was like just like a fake version of what we are really expecting to see. And it's unfortunate because now that it's like a war is possibly gonna start brewing, that means that like he's never gonna show up. Like the Greendale Lucifer is never gonna show up because like if they're gonna create this like war between the devils and the angels or whatever, like he's just the only one that we get, which is
I thought that was a big miss, but like
I agree. Maybe he was busy.
He was probably busy. It's COVID. I don't think they can get like access to these actors. Like I saw like freaking what's her face's name in there, Polly's and Betty's dad. And I'm like, oh, are they going to be in the episode? Like they're going to physically? And I'm like, no. And it was just like their audio. So
it's like a voice call.
It's just like a voice call because I don't even think because of COVID and like where people are. Like I don't think they could have gotten a lot of people on set. Yeah. Having said that would have been really cool for people like us who have watched Sabrina. We want that connection, but I think majority of people that are watching Riverdale, like I don't think they've watched Sabrina, so maybe for them it doesn't like affect it that much. But yeah,
for sure. Anyway, let's get into the episode. So it goes into Pop's diner. Starts out with Pop's diner, and Pops is helping a customer who's homeless. He can't really afford his meal, and as soon as he helps him out, he looks through the window.
The minute he said, "Most my heart, got my heart," I was like, "Oh no!"
Tabitha's like, "You have such a good heart." Down. Yeah. And then as soon as he said that, he sees the devil through the window, and that's when you get the first jump scare where like it goes from like regular person to like scary person. I would have had a heart attack too if I was his age. And so he literally like collapses on the floor, and then Tabitha's like, "Oh shit, I got to take him to the hospital." And then it cuts to Veronica, and she wakes up next to Reggie, and Reggie's like already up. He's feeling a little antsy pantsy because the casino's about to open, and he ends off by saying he loves her, and then they kiss. It was a cute little sweet moment.
It was cute, and it was a little like confusing, but now that we know what we know, I'm like, no wonder he was feeling some type of way.
He was like nervous about what happened.
Betrayed her.
He done messed up that stuff. So anyway, so then it cuts to Betty, and she gets
but now, sorry, really quickly, but now when you made that point last week in the podcast, how you're like, are they broken up in real life? Like, is it awkward now? Like when they kiss, I'm like looking to see if like I see like awkwardness.
I know.
Like, is it awkward?
Even when she said Reggie, I was like, do you mean Charles? Like, do you want to just say, Charles, come back to bed? You know what I mean? Like, it's very interesting whenever they're dating in real life. So then it cuts to Betty, and she gets a call from Glenn. And Glenn says that there's a transport truck on the way to Riverdale with the TBK because they caught him, but he doesn't want to talk to anybody else. He wants to talk to Betty in order to give the confession. Because already I was asking that question, like, why do you got to bring him to Riverdale? It doesn't make no sense.
Wouldn't she just come there? Like,
would she just have gone there? Yeah, they literally like, courier him over. But anyway, so he's on his way, and she's like, okay, I guess that's gonna happen. Then it cuts to Reggie, and he's watching TV, and that's when Veronica comes in, and they see how Alice is on the news, basically blasting the like casino idea into hell, literally, and says this is such a bad idea, it's just gonna like create more chaos and more like crappy things. And this is when Veronica goes to talk to Alice. She's like, let me just go talk to her. So the next scene is her talking to Alice at the Cooper residence, and Alice basically says those things. She's like, it's gonna breed gambling, and then soon enough it'll be whoremongers, and like, people are gonna be like, like debt sharks, whatever. Then Veronica tries to tell her like, no, what we're doing is like totally legit. It's like a corporation. And as soon as she says legit, it was a cool like edit cut where as soon as she's like legit, it cuts straight to Reggie training the staff, and he's basically like saying the opposite. He's like, everything that we're doing here is not legit. We're gonna try to like screw everybody over. We're gonna have like phony
He's like the
dice and like
dice.
curved
I
like
love the
roulette
sequence.
tables.
I
Yeah.
love the back and forth. But I was like, Reggie, why would you tell your staff that? Like, that's a
Yeah, I mean, like,
conversation that you and Veronica would have between the two of you. He's like telling the whole crew, he's like, we're gonna scam people here. Everything is fake.
yeah,
The
you
rules don't
would never do
apply.
that.
So
You would
don't tell
never do that.
anyone.
Exactly.
Like, you would never tell your staff.
And all the waitresses are like,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah.
So the one question that I had that never really gets addressed is like, does she know his plan of scamming? Like, is she a part
Yes.
of
I
it?
wondered that too.
Is she like, yeah, make sure you tell them that like we're not really running a real business here, or
I
does
don't
she
know.
legitimately want to run a business? Like,
And they
it,
don't really get to that
they don't.
answer, because you're so right. I had the exact same question. I was like, is she naively like saying this to Alice, or does she like she's lying to Alice?
Right,
Those are
right.
very two different Veronicas, and I want to know which one we're getting.
1,000,000% exactly. It's like, is she following in the footsteps of Hiram, being like this crook, essentially doing this just for her own profit and like doesn't care who she's going to screw over, or is she doing this like actually for the betterment of Riverdale? And it's funny because at the end of last season, one of the things that I said right off the top was she goes and approaches Alice, and I think at that point Frank as well, and is like, we have this idea to open up a casino, and even then she was like, it's a bad idea because Riverdale needs to get like their feet back on the ground. And she ended up doing it anyway, like without anybody's consideration. And it's kind of frustrating to hear that she's like out to do all this stuff, shady or not. I'm like, girl, you don't know what you're like. Why aren't you supporting the town in the way that you should
But
be?
maybe in her mind she is supporting it in like that way, where like she's getting more jobs for people, like there's more like money coming in. Maybe in her like train of thought it is. That's why I do feel like she's not meaning to do this like in a sketchy way. Like I do feel like she's doing it like properly. And she does make a point when like she walks into the room and Reggie's watching TV, she's like, the gaming commission guy like came by, or she says something to allude to the fact that like she is doing this by the book. That's what I assumed. That's what I want to assume.
Now that I'm thinking about it, she does end up saying something about the skimmers, right? The skimmers who like basically take off bits of off the top. So she's aware that they're going to be making this extra profit. She does get mad about when the devil makes a little bit more money on the table. So like she wants to run the casino to make a profit, realistically. So anyway, I guess you still
have to do that in a sense. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, she's a sketch bag regardless, but it cuts to Veronica inviting Alice to the casino soft open. She was like, why don't you just come see it for yourself and everything should be fine. That's the part that I was also confused by, because if she really is throwing like a legitimate business, then would she not be extremely worried about what Alice might see there? Like if she does notice that she's not winning any money at the bar or whatever. Anyways, getting way too into it. Then it cuts to Pops and he's in the hospital, and this is the scene that we saw from the promo. Mr. Cypher comes in, the devil, and he introduces himself to Tabitha, and he says that he's here for Pops. And she's kind of shocked. She's like, there's no way that Pops would ever do this. Like how would he sell his soul? And he explains that it was actually Pops' dad who sold his soul in order to make Pops the success that it is. But then when he found out that he was selling his soul, Pops took his place and promised his soul in order to save his dad's soul. So essentially, Devil's here to get the payout. But what he does end up saying, and he offers this up instead, is I will take Pops at the Pops Diner property as leverage instead of taking your grandfather if that's what you want to do. And Tabitha's already like sold. Like I don't even really need the diner anyway. Like I'd rather have my like grandpa not go to like die and go straight to hell. So then it cuts to Tabitha at home, and Jughead asks how Pops is, and she fills him in on this like devil guy, and he is like, oh, interesting. Can I see the business card? I'd like love to talk to him. He's like, I just want to talk to the devil. Okay, cool. So he ends up doing that thing. And this is going back to what you just mentioned about his storyline. He could have easily just been the supporting character in Tabitha's story and really been that person. Number one, he loves Pops. He loves Pop, the person.
Yeah.
And so you think that like I know that they all had to have separate stories for like the reason of the show, but like this could have been a good opportunity for him to show up for Tabitha. The amount of times that she's shown up for him, it would have been nice for him to be like, you know what, I'm gonna look into like this guy with you. We're gonna like figure this out together. And they just said I
love you to each other. So yeah, you would think that he's like ride or die. Like I love you. I'm gonna
like making a little bit of an effort. I think one of the things that you've always said that like is frustrating about his character is like he thinks right away to like his own personal objectives. And exactly
what he did this week too.
And he did it this week as well. And I'm just kind of like, oh, you're kind of just like pushing into the idea that he's just like kind of a self-involved writer right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, so he wants to ask him about a bunch of questions. Then it cuts to Veronica talking to the staff right before the opening. And it's like this cute little montage. Everybody's walking in. The devil kind of like slides in. First of all, Alice
can I just say right here that I love this whole casino like storyline. I'm like, I kind of wish she had this instead of like Le Bon Nuit. Like this 100%. This is like, I don't know. She kind of like fits this role perfectly. Like this whole casino world. Vibes. I love it. I think it's so her.
Yeah, I think that it totally works for her character. I mean, I don't know if she would have. I think it would have been.
I guess it wouldn't have made sense
if a high school student was running a fucking casino. But that being said, she could have like worked for Hiram, who had the casino, and then she took over the casino or something.
I guess this is a natural like progression. Like you own a bar in high school, and then after you own a casino.
That's what I would do. 100%. Just take those earnings and take it somewhere else. So the devil walks in, Alice walks in. She's like, I'm going to be sniffing out evil. I'm not going to be like doing any gambling or anything.
So give me a cranberry juice at the bar.
And then the devil walks in and Reggie kind of notices him. Yeah. And first I thought he was going to chase after him, but he actually like runs away. Like he like goes the opposite direction.
This episode felt so like not like Reggie, like, and that's the part that like I found it hard to buy into. Right. I'm watching him and I'm like, this isn't like my Reggie. Like this isn't like the Reggie that like we know. Yeah. Because he played like such a little bitch and he played like such a scaredy cat and like.
Right.
Like he betrayed her so bad. It's like it felt so far from who he has been this whole time.
Yeah, no, that's very true. That's very true. I feel like it kind of does line in with what he is as a character. He's still like he doesn't have a father figure to like figure out the leadership or like how to deal with people. He's just like doing his own thing. And I think as a comic book character, he's not like known to be like the smartest
100% in the comic book 100%, but how they've been building him up in the show has been a little bit different. Right. So I expected more, and I'm going to talk about this later in my roundups, but if he had like said the reasoning why he was acting so like weird, like you ruined my car last week, you did this to me, you did this, then I could have been like, oh, he's really salty. It didn't really come from anywhere. It kind of just came from like just him doing that. And it was hard for me to buy into it a little bit because I do love Reggie a lot and like he has impressed me like the last couple episodes. So I wanted a bit more like build up as to like why he seems so different.
Why you don't do that?
Other than the fact that it's Riverdale now and people are just acting like batshit crazy.
Yeah, that's very true. That's a good point. So then what happened? Oh, so then Kevin sees the devil. The devil sees Kevin, and then they have their little quick conversation. The thing that killed me the most was we were basically completely on point with what we said during our promo reaction last week, where God. And he says that he saw Kevin in some performance. I'm assuming there was a quick crossover when Kevin went to see Katie Keene, like in that New York world. And so in this performance, maybe not, I don't know. Let us know if you watch Katie Keene and that actually happened. But he says that he saw him in New York in a performance and he was really, really good. And he asks Kevin, like, why isn't he in New York right now? And so Kevin goes on to say, like, he doesn't have an agent and it's hard to get out there. And the devil says, like, what if I can like make all that happen for you? And I don't know if it was real or if he like literally just like snapped his fingers and like everything changed at the same time. Yeah. But essentially, he gets a taste of like what his life could be if he had this like fame and an agent and all this other stuff. So he starts singing at the casino, of course. Which I was eye rolling at because I don't really need to hear Kevin sing ever again, to be completely honest. And then, yeah, it is unusual. Actually.
It is unusual.
It is actually not unusual that Kevin would be selling his soul.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not.
So it turns out once he finishes his song, Fangs is completely changed. He's not like this biker gang guy anymore. He's like this flamboyant, like I don't know, like agent, boyfriend to Kevin. So like, I guess wrapped up in his dream fantasy, like he's also like now again back with Fangs.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting way to bring Fangs back in, because now that Tony's gone, like
yeah,
Fangs can like easily just like jump back in with him.
Yeah.
But it's all not real, so I don't really understand. Anyway, it was kind of cute where he says, he's like, we're gonna have like amazing sex, and like, what do you do? Like, we just like, you know, you go on the road, we have sex, and like we're good to go. He played it really well.
Yeah.
And as soon as like he finished all that, like kind of like that quick sequence, he goes straight back to the devil, and he's like, bitch, sign me up, like I'm good to go, let's do this. Like if that
he's
is
like,
a taste,
where dotted line, he's like over there. He's like, I'll sign everywhere. He's like, more than once.
Yeah, exactly. I will tattoo it on my body if I need to. So he doesn't even look at the contract, doesn't even realize that he's selling his soul to the devil. Like I don't even know what his I think we were saying, not terribly surprised that this is like he's so desperate for like this thing that he just like decides that this is what he wants. He's just selling his soul to become like Broadway magic or whatever.
It's an interesting conflict question that these characters are like having to like answer. Because we are in Riverdale. What would happen if we were in Riverdale and they were still dealt with this question? What would they do? Like that's something that I wish we could find out. Because would Kevin do the same thing in like regular universe, times? Like I don't know. Is he just acting off of like these weird feelings because we're in Riverdale right now?
That's a good question. Yeah. I mean, I guess I can only assume that he's being stupid because he's just being Kevin.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I mean, it fits his character in both worlds.
He does that shit anyway.
Yeah. And I think it just comes with the territory of like wanting to be in entertainment. They always say that like you sell your soul to the devil to like get fame.
Right. So for sure.
It kind of fits that.
It fits that. Yeah. So he just signs up, whatever. Then it cuts to Veronica and she goes to talk to the devil because he's winning all this money at a blackjack table. And she's like, oh, hell no. Literally, oh, hell no. And it turns out, so she's like, why are you here? And she's like, it's a closed like set for people. Like if you're not invited, you're not allowed to come here. And he says, I actually was invited by your boyfriend. So maybe we should go talk to him about
your boyfriend.
And he does say that he's like looking for a soul. He doesn't like specifically say whose it is. At this point in time, I think we're all assuming that he's looking for Reggie and his soul.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of gagged when that all like switched up at the end.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to Veronica talking to Reggie, being like, this guy like came in and
like Louis
Cypher. And she's like, he says that he's a devil or something, and Reggie says like, actually he is actually the devil.
He's like the devil. She's like then Reggie's like, no, he's literally the devil.
Like he is the one, like in the Bible. Like he's the one.
She's like,
she's like, oh, true. Okay, cool. So he does say that he's coming for him. He essentially said that in order to set up the casino, he was one of like the lenders, like the money lenders. And he offered up his soul to like get it open and running.
Right.
And he asks her for her help to like figure out what to do to like get rid of him.
Veronica, he's like, you know how to do everything. Like you can figure everything out, right?
Yeah. Thanks.
I'm like, Reggie. Okay.
So unhelpful. So annoying. So then it cuts to Betty and the TBK talking. They're having like their little interview, and she's just looking for a confession. She's over it. She's like, I don't care about you. Honestly, like I don't really need a confession because I know you're guilty. It's kind of fucked up because like she's going through a file, and like the first picture you see is like a child. I'm like, this guy killed children.
Oh, I didn't notice that. That's disgusting.
It's like, I hate when kids are involved in murders. It makes me so sad. Even fake ones. Like it's so fucked up. So he asks, what does she want exactly? And she asks if absolute evil really exists, and is that you? Is that like, are you the embodiment of evil? And he kind of pushes her in a little bit more and says like, what is your real question? And as she's walking away, he finally answers, and he says like, yes, I like absolute evil does exist, and a part of evil is inside of you too. You know that. That's why we're so connected. And then she starts to trip out. She actually goes home and she starts to like shower herself because she feels like disgusting. Like it was a good scene to be like, oh shit, like she feels like this poor woman, she's been carrying this like level of like, am I evil, am I not evil, since like teenage years. Like season 1 with like the freaking like dark Benny hands. Like she's been holding on to the shit for a while.
God, yeah.
And so anyway, so she feels disgusting. She calls Glenn and tells him like, listen, I don't know what's like, I'm not getting information from the TBK. He's not cracking. Can you just get him out of here? He's like really messing with my head right now. And Glenn Twist goes on to say he's actually not in custody. So like, I don't know what you're talking about. Are you okay? And then she's like, okay, I gotta go bye. So she hangs up the phone. Doesn't pursue question because he's probably already thinking that she needs to go to the mental institution. Like she's lost it.
So he's saying the TBK isn't in custody. They never even caught him.
Twist. Yeah, absolutly. There was a lot of twists and turns this episode. One of them being
I am on confused road right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know which way is out.
So then it cuts to the hospital and Tabitha is talking to Pops and because he's finally conscious and he tells her how she cannot give up the diner because it's basically the heart and soul of Riverdale, and you know it always allows people who are like down on their hard times to come in and be taken care of, and you know without it it's gonna be like bad for Riverdale because like all these people that, and he's like that's why the devil wants it, is because he'll be able to get all those souls without having to do anything. So then Tabitha kind of realizes like the importance of Pops as well, because for me, even my perspective, I was like, yeah, just give it up. But Pops giving that extra little layer of like what you need to do and why it's so important. It's not just like the burgers and the onion rings, even though like can we get some?
Pretty good.
It was more than that. So then it cuts to, and I guess it also does make sense. I mean, like Pops literally gave up his soul to keep this place like running, so it makes sense to me.
But how do you live without a soul? Like, doesn't that make you just like?
I think it's the soul's owed to you. So like once you die, that soul is now yours. In this episode, he kills them instantly and says like your soul is mine, like / your body is dead.
Yeah.
But you can definitely like sell your soul with like and like live your best life, and then as soon as you die,
when you die, you give it back to him.
Straight to hell. Yeah.
Oh, you're straight to hell, right?
Go straight to hell, yeah. So anyway, the cuts to the casino and Veronica calls the devil. She's like, I need to talk to you. That was a quick scene. But he's busy talking to Mr. Juggy Jugs. So Jughead is talking to Mr. Cypher, and he is hungry, thirsty, craving a new story to write because he is uninspired. He doesn't know what to do.
When is he ever inspired?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, he was
like, when has he written like anything good?
Just last week, he was like on a road to like figuring his own shit out, and he's suddenly like, I'm uninspired. Can I sell my soul to you? So I was actually really hopeful for like Jughead getting his stuff together this episode and doing something very like cunning almost and like outsmarting the devil, because what he does in this part is he says so the devil gives him a choice. He's like, I'm not going to sell my soul, but I need to like figure out like what my options are. So the devil says you can either get a story and sell it, and it will be like the most lit story ever. You're going to get like Pulitzer prizes. You're going to like win everything. But as soon as you get all that fame and glory from that one scene, or that one story, you will never be able to write again. Like your creativity is going to be gone. Like you're not going to be able to write again. And then he says, alternatively, I can tell you the story right now, but you're never allowed to publish it. And you'll still have your creativity, but like the reality of whether or not you're still going to be able to like become famous or like publish anything again is like still not like, it's still not likely, but like you'll still have your creativity to like work through. Like he says, he literally says your creativity will flow. So like he will have a lot of creativity, but like he just no guarantees that he's gonna get fame from it. So then Jughead decides, he's like, I'm gonna like tell me the story first and then I'll decide what I want to do. So this is when I thought he was going to be smart about it. He was like, I'm just going to tell this story and then I'm just going to learn about it and then I'm going to move on. But he doesn't. So then it cuts back to the casino, and it turns out that Nicky Nick is back into town, and he is
random.
He is here. I think we knew that was coming because of the promo, but he's back in town. I guess it makes sense. He's now a senator, I think, in this world.
And he's
married, and he's like already like hitting on some chick and like at the bottom. So then it cuts back to Jughead, and he basically learns about all of the universe's mysteries in this interview, and like his face is like, oh snap, like this is life. And then as soon as the devil gives him the option, Jughead's like, I need to tell the story. Like I have to do it. And this is when I got really disappointed in him. I'm like, bro, like what was your why what was so important about the story? So anyway, he decides to choose option 1 to get the story out there, but then as soon as he gets that, then he'll never have creativity again. Then it cuts to Veronica and Nick, and they're talking over a drink. She kind of like brings him over, and he tells her all these like sinful things that he's done in the past.
She's like, I love details.
Give me
like, the more details you give me, the more turned on I get.
Yeah,
I'm
she
like,
literally
what is she getting to? Because I missed like the whole plan. I'm like, what is she trying to do? And then I'm like, oh, okay.
So he says like he doesn't pay taxes. He's had 3 hit and runs. Like what a
She's
mess.
Like more. He's like, okay.
I was like, can you stop at the hit and runs? Like that's more than enough to get you straight to hell.
Yeah.
Drunk driving. He's had multiple affairs. And she says, would you sell your soul to the devil for me? And he says, like, for you, anything. And as soon as he says anything, he like the devil shows up, grabs him, and he goes straight to hell.
Bye
Nicky Nick.
Nicky Nick.
So Veronica now is like, okay, sick. Now Reggie's safe. I'm safe. The casino's safe. We're good to go. And this is when we get the twist of all twists. It turns out that like, Reggie Reggie promises Veronica's soul to the devil instead of his own.
Like, bitch, what?
I was gagged.
I was like, oh. I think I like made that sound. I was like, asshole. And like the way he says, he's like, you know, so like I had to give yours instead.
Yeah. It was so messed up.
Like, you can figure it out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we'll talk about that scene in a second, but it was so messed up. So then it cuts back to Jughead, and he like writes his story. He publishes it. It's like published on wordpress.com, and it's good to go. Then it cuts to Betty talking to the TBK and / the devil, because at this point I think we're assuming that it is not the real TBK. It's probably the devil. And he kind of like goes on to say, like, or she goes on to ask him, like, if hell really exists, then like how are you going to prove that to me? And she says, like, I want to talk to my dad. If he's down there, like, I want to hear him. So like her dad possesses his body. He talks to her through him and basically is like, it's so hot down here. It'd be burning up in this gig. Can you please?
You need that SPF 90 when you come down here, Betty.
Oh my gosh. So I was like, okay, so he's in hell.
He's in hell.
So she freaks out, and she doesn't really believe him until she asks like a question that specifically only Hal would know.
She's like, where did I get that rainbow flavored cotton candy ice cream from, Dad, in town? And then the devil's like, Baskin Robbins. She's like, oh!
She's like the only
like one ice cream shop
in all. Pop's Diner. No, it is my dad.
Give it away.
So that's when like the camera zooms in. She's like, oh no, it is my dad, and he is the devil, and he is in hell. But also, like, why do you care about your dad? He's literally a murderer. Anyways,
these are all the things that they pulled out that I was like, guys, like, I don't care. It's making me more confused because now you're adding like more layers to this. Why does she need to hear from her dad? She literally hates her dad, and he's like an evil person. So like,
right.
I just didn't get the connection.
But I guess like what happens later makes a lot of sense, because I was like, okay, at least they're like adding an extra layer
does it
to
make
this.
Sense? Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
I forgot
really. Okay. So then it cuts to Veronica, and she yells at Reggie. She like pops off on him. She was like, I can't believe you did this. Yeah, she like lost it on him. And like you said, what he says is, you know, like, I knew you would figure it out. Like, I don't know how to tell you. And she says, like, how did you even get my signature? And he was like hiding the contract.
Dude, the lengths that this guy went to screw her over. Like, I couldn't believe it. It was so heartbreaking. I was like, Reggie, I I thought like maybe you'd be
Betrayed.
having an affair, but like to do this is like so effed up. Like
It's like pure betrayal.
You made her sign it with the pen too.
You made her sign it.
Damn.
Yeah, it's pretty. That's like some pretty extra stuff without even telling your girlfriend. Oh, by the way, like I just signed your life away to the devil. That's pretty messed up. So she ends up like, she says like, leave, like don't even talk to me ever again. And he leaves. I love that scene because like finally she's like, this guy's an idiot, let's get out of here. Yeah. And then in this moment, that's when the devil shows right up and he's like, yo, okay, it's time to go, like it's almost midnight, like you're coming with me. And she says, he says, I think he comes up with a new deal. He's like, honestly, like if you don't want to come, that's totally fine. Why don't you get one from Alice? Like I need another signature anyhow, so like why don't you get it from her? She'll take care of it and like we'll be clean. And so then Veronica's like, cool, definitely gonna screw over my old best friend's mom, like who literally did nothing to me. So then it cuts to Jughead. So then it cuts to Jughead getting a call from like the Associated Press, and like all these different people are like really like lit for him. And it's cool because this is the first, I think this is probably the first time that we see like a double Jughead, like Jughead sitting down and taking phone calls. Yes. And then like the narrator Jughead comes in and he's like, so what had happened to me was like, and he like talks about his story. And he ends up getting a call from Sam, who's like, what are you writing next? And that's when it kind of dawns on Jughead, like, oh, shoot. Like, as soon as the story's done, like, I don't know what I'm going to write next because I don't think I have any more creativity. That's when I'm just like, are you, like, how did you not even see that happening? Like, what is wrong with you?
The issue is you, Jughead. The issue is
you were
not
the problem.
Nobody else.
You're always the problem. Yeah. So then it cuts to Pop's Diner, and the same homeless man from the beginning of the episode, he comes in and he asks for some soup, and Tabitha's like, don't worry about it. Go sit down. Take it easy. Like, we'll get you some soup. And some guy on the side on the bar like notices it, and he's like, wow, y'all are out here just like doing the best deeds. You're such a good person. That needs to be rewarded. And he says his name is Raphael, and he goes on to say that you need to make sure that you are ready for a war that's coming up. And the diner is a very important part of this battle between like evil and good. And he hands her this like vial of magic, I guess we could assume at this point. And so like now she has this like vial of magic. This is when I'm just like, okay, there's like more magic being introduced into the story, a whole nother layer of good and evil. Yeah. It was kind of giving me that Sabrina vibes a little bit, because we do get that good and evil versus situation even in her world. A little bit more extreme, obviously, because it's Sabrina. But anyway, this is when it starts to get a little bit more magic-y. Then it cuts to Alice walking in to talk to Veronica and in her office. And Veronica offers to put a cut of the casino earnings back into Riverdale in exchange for a signature of discretion from Alice. And Alice is like, sick. That sounds good to me. Like, I'm down.
So I thought she was already going to do that. Like, I thought Veronica was already going to do that. So I was kind of disappointed. I was like, oh, so you weren't going to even give money back to the town. So you were going
to be shady. That's
so
what
you were going to be yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's what I mean. I'm just like, so she was going to run this like shady business on the side and like don't even care about Riverdale in the first place, or Riverdale even. So I was a little bit annoyed about that because, I mean, for obvious reasons. She's always so selfish in her character. So as Alice is like ready to sign this unknowingly that it's like literally the contract for the devil, she's about to sign it. The devil's even like about to hold his hand over her shoulder. She stops her. She has like a moment of like guilt, and she's like, okay, never mind. We're not doing this anymore. And she doesn't even explain it to Alice. So then Alice becomes like very angry with her. She doesn't explain like, oh, by the way, I was kind of trying to trick you, or like, why don't we reschedule this for another time? She literally is like,
actually, no.
We're not going to ever do this. I'm never going to give money to the fucking Riverdale. And then Alice is like, wow, sounds cool. I'm now going to just like be your public enemy number one now. Yeah. which I didn't make any sense to me, but obviously Veronica like decided that last minute, so fine. So then it cuts to Jughead, and he's trying to write, and it was interesting because he writes, and it's basically like wingdings, like, you know, those like symbols that you get on your computer.
I'm like, word.
And I was like, I don't even think those are on a typewriter to begin with, like those symbols.
True.
But it just shows that like he can no longer write anything. And then Betty talks to the TB. So then it cuts to Betty talking to the TBK, and or slash the devil. And Betty asks like, why do you even want me? Like, what's so important about me? And again, we hear about this war that's coming. He says the war is coming, and he wants her to pledge her allegiance to him. Mm-hmm. He goes on to say that there is this woman in his like fantasy or vision, riding like a red beast, and she is like Babylon, the mother of destruction and abomination, and that person is Betty. Like, she is that person. Mm-hmm. And Betty is like, cool, so I'm like a whore who's riding a fucking monster? No, I'm not down for that. Like, pass. And she says, like, to be completely honest, I don't even care about my dad, so like, you can have him. I'm not doing your allegiance whatsoever. And then he goes on to say, but what about Polly? And that's when Polly comes through, aka the actress who plays Polly.
But what about Polly? Like, why did he even mention her?
So she's in hell. Like, she's like, because she's
he's
dead,
saying
right?
She's in hell.
She went to hell, and she didn't believe him at first. She was like, there's no way that she's in hell.
Yeah.
And then he's like, are you sure about that? But that, because then you think about it and you're like, she was kind of like, she kind of did some bad stuff. Like, she was doing drugs. I don't know. She didn't kill anybody.
Yeah, so she didn't kill anyone. She was just a hoe bag. Like, you don't go to hell for being a hoe bag.
I mean, depending on what religion you're talking about, you might be. But Betty is already like very shocked. So whether or not she believes it's actually Polly.
Yeah, I think she's just like tripping out too. And like,
she's tripping out. She freaks out. She leaves the room. She grabs a pair of scissors, and then she stabs the TBK
like,
to death.
The ish out of that
the violence, the
like
level
blood
of violence
everywhere.
It was kind of sick to me.
It was kind
of, I was like, this is cool.
It was cool, but I was like, obviously, like, and it's funny because she says it like a couple of minutes later. So she obviously remembers things from last week's episode where like CHONI had to sacrifice herself.
Right.
So she's already seen all these things happening. So do you think she's remembering that what happened last week, and like, is that with her mindset this week? Because she does make a comment later where she's like, let me guess, it's gonna be me.
So I love that line because I feel like it goes into like the whole like horror movie trope where like you unmask the killer and it turns out to be you.
I thought she was saying that because like from last week, what happened with Tony, when that woman revealed her, it was like Tony's face. So I thought, oh, she knows what's happening. She was there last week. She witnessed all of this like crazy ish happening. She knows that it's happening to her now in this week, but I don't think she has that much self-awareness.
Yeah, I don't think that it's about that. I think it's more just like she knows like how these stories usually play out. Like, and I kind of believed her. I was like, oh, it is gonna be her behind that. Like, she killed her evil self. Like, you know, she's run into these kind of conversations before for herself. So the gag is she unmasks him, and it turns out that it is actually Glenn, dead in her arms.
It just didn't make sense to me. Like, he called you. Like, how can it be him?
Yeah, it's weird because it's almost as if everything happens within a matter of like a couple of days. So like, maybe he like showed up before that.
It's just a lot of different parts that we didn't see. And then it's like, shocker, it was him. I'm like, okay, I wasn't expecting him because like he just called her. The way things went down was very confusing. And I feel like they did that so that like you can't even piece it together.
You can't even fathom the fact that like that would have even happened. Yeah, exactly.
And like, is he dead for real? Or is he now dead in Riverdale? He's dead in Riverdale.
He's dead in Riverdale. I don't know if he's gonna stay dead. But he basically is like, you kill the guy, so bye.
I wonder.
So he leaves. He just like dibs.
I wonder if they'll do something where like, if the person died by like natural causes, they're dead.
Ooh.
But if they died in Riverdale by like supernatural causes, they'll come back.
Maybe.
If they did something like that might be crazy. Because then like, if you die by like real, you're dead.
So let's assume that he's actually dead. Do you care that Glenn is dead?
No, I don't. That's the thing. Like in the end, I'm like, I don't, because he's such a like weird, like we don't even care anymore.
And I was thinking about that too. I'm like, she almost killed him last season, so like I don't really care. Like she stabbed him in front of her brother. So I'm just like, I don't really care about Glenn. She doesn't care about him either. She actually hates him. So
is this just about the unraveling of Betty Cooper? Like, is this? But I feel like we've gone there.
That's what I mean. It's like the part. It's like the part 4 version of the unraveling of Betty Cooper.
This whole, I think I wrote in my notes, like this whole scene itself, like hearing her dad and like hearing Polly, like it felt like that scene from like season 2 or season 3, where like she sees her dad in jail. Like she's just like the unraveling of Betty Cooper. This is what the show should be called, because like we always get
that's all we see. That's all we get.
I'm over it. Like, let's move on. Let's get like a new Betty, like happy Betty.
I mean, I wasn't mad at any of her scenes just because like I'm always interested. I just love seeing her on screen. I'm always interested to see like where she's gonna go, what they're gonna do with her character. Is she gonna be evil? I would love to see it. And one of the things that I think, to your point, they keep bringing back this idea like, is she gonna be bad? Is she gonna be evil?
But they never take her there though.
But this might be the moment. Like, I think that scene that we see later on, we're like, I don't know, girl. You just like killed someone in cold blood.
Didn't she shoot someone last season in the living room? True. She shot her brother dead.
Good point.
So like that like could have been. That could have been like the end too.
And also in this particular case, she didn't do it on purpose. She did it because she like hates the TBK. She wanted to kill him.
Yeah, so. And he like kills people. So it's like, you're Dexter. Like, good for you. Like,
slash, like she thought she was trying to kill. She was trying to kill the devil. She wasn't trying to kill.
Exactly.
Anyway, this murder like shouldn't really count. So I don't really know what's gonna happen with that. You make good points though. Like, why are we keep going back to the story if it doesn't really amount to anything? Anyway, we'll get to that later.
Like, I would rather it amount to something. Then I would be like, oh my god, some crazy shit. Like, you know,
yeah, true. And maybe like I said,
imagine if it was Jughead.
Ooh, that would be
because like
crazy.
Maybe he came to like visit her or something, and like because the typewriter broke and he wanted to, and then it was him. Like that would have shook me so much more.
Right. Or if it was like, Archie like coming back from the dead, and, like she had the opportunity to like see through the evil.
But you're right. Like Glenn is just like he doesn't really matter to us, so it's not that much of a like a big deal. Anyway,
like, yeah, especially when we find out things about him later. I was kind of annoyed. Anyway, cuts to Veronica and Reggie talking, and he kind of walks in like very like sheepishly, and he's like, so I know you're like really busy or whatever, but you know, like the skimmers are here and like they need money. Like, do you want me to take care of that or what? And she's like beyond annoyed. She was like,
so useless.
She's like, shut up, Reggie. Like, so they're here to get the cut, like these skim guys, and she decides, you know what? Just let them in. Let's thank them personally for giving her a hope in hell, is what she says exactly. And she decides she's going to cancel Kevin, and she's going to deliver her swan song. One last song.
She's
of course,
so
Veronica could not leave.
But I loved her this episode.
Yeah, she could not go straight to hell without singing one last song. Sure enough, that's exactly what she does. Then it cuts to Jughead and the devil are talking, and once he realizes that he does not have any more creativity, he like tells him, he's like, I want to take it back. I don't want this anymore. Like, blah, blah, blah. So the devil says, okay, fine. If you want to reverse it, I can totally do that, but I'm going to have to take your soul or whatever. And Jughead goes, yes, take my soul. Like 100% hands down.
Go for it.
To reverse all of it. And I was just like, you just literally fell right into his trap that easily. That was so annoying.
Like, what a waste of an episode. You just wasted 42 minutes of my life. Like, nothing even happened in your storyline. You didn't even help your girlfriend.
I know. I'm like, you're so useless. Like I said, he's just going back to like his own things always, all the time. It's all about him and what he wants to do for himself.
He's and like, writing, I can't live without writing. That's all I have in my life.
I'd rather go to hell. So like he just like reverses it, and like that's the thing. Bitch. He wanted the fame. Like, it's not like somebody forces down his throat. But anyway, and that's the thing with Jughead, and this is why I'm only suspending my belief because it's Riverdale. Jughead, the real Jughead, would have looked at that scenario and been like, definitely creativity. Like, I don't need the story to be like published and get the fame and all this other stuff. Maybe not, actually. Now that
Like
I'm
the way
talking
he's
about it.
acted in the last season, like it was very much like that kind of person. Like,
And over the last 7 years, to be honest, like writing the book, writing
like
the
I'm gonna
book,
take it back to the beginning.
yeah, take a real right back, because you're right. Like he's been that way since the beginning. Like even when he wrote the book and like basically sold out the entire town, he was always thinking about himself and like getting that fame in that next book or whatever.
He did it already. We've already been through that storyline in New York. He legit did that.
Good point. Good point.
The only person that has been acting like themselves is Veronica. This episode, like, no, truthfully, like if you look at every single character in this episode, you're like, what is wrong with everyone? Like, everyone, what are you doing? She's the only normal one. She's literally the only one that's being like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and she does it because
she's already shady to begin with. Like she's already in the world of the devil anyhow, so she's like, I know how to outsmart the devil.
Yeah, that's true.
And then sure enough, back like to what you just said, pure Veronica fashion, she puts out a number, she sings a song. She sings Marry the Night by our girl, our queen, Lady Gaga.
Mary,
as soon as I got on the call, that's what I heard and be singing. I was like, oh hey,
the night. It was so good. You know what? I have to say she annoyed me last week, but this week she like made up for it. I love this as much as her performance is so extra, like the musical performances. This one I liked. I was like, girl, you gonna die in 10 minutes. Go for it. Like, go do your dance.
If anything, I wanted her to go even harder. I wanted her to like fucking do a backflip, do some swings. Like maybe there was a pole coming from the ceiling. Yeah, it's just something else crazy. Oh my god,
like, it was so good though. She killed it.
I thought it was great. I enjoyed it. And to your point, like I'm not usually a big fan of these musical performances, but I thought she carried it. Camila Mendes like did it. She did that thing.
Yeah, she did.
Then it cuts to Pop's diner. It's kind of this back and forth between the two scenes. So she's singing the song, and in the meantime, at Pop's diner, the devil walks in to basically collect Pop's soul, and he signs the papers. Or no, not collect Pop's soul, collect the Pops, like the diner.
Yeah.
And so he signs the papers to like give Pop's soul back, and then Tabitha signs the papers to give Pop's the diner back. And she says like, well, now that you have, you know, the deed or whatever, what are you going to do to Pops? And he's like, oh, I'm just going to bulldoze it. So like no one can go anywhere. And then she says, you know what, now that we did this, I'd really like to like celebrate with a milkshake. And he's like, you know what, make it 3 milkshakes, because who doesn't want a milkshake? So they cheers, they drink. And as soon as he drinks this thing, he's like, it's a little off. Like, is this lactose free or is it not?
He's like, almond milk.
He's like, is it almond milk, oat milk? And he starts to feel sick. And she's like, oh, yeah, you know what? It must be these vial of tears that I got from the angel that came in a little bit earlier. And then now it's like the angel tears of Mary.
The Virgin Mary from
the Virgin
Sweden.
Mary. Yeah, like ordered on Amazon. So
or store-bought is fine.
Yeah, store-bought. If you don't have the tears of Virgin Mary in a vial to give to the devil,
is fine.
Store-bought is fine.
You can still fight them.
Yeah, you can. It's totally fine. So it turns out that they all drank these tears, which are gonna protect them, but it obviously doesn't do that to the devil. He starts like puking up like black blood.
Yeah, like pure lactose attack.
It's just pure lactose intolerant, and he gets kicked out by Pops. Pops like kicks him out of Pops.
Loved it.
And then right away she like wipes the door down and is like, now our place is lit. Like our place is literally lit by angels. And she says like, you can come try and like fight us, but like you can never come here again. You can never hurt me or like Pops anymore. It's funny that like she only saved enough for like the 3 of them, including Pop's
I was
diner.
like, would be nice if you like squeeze some of those out.
Yeah, like you might need some for your boyfriend who just sold.
Homegirl, you need a Costco size virgin tears.
Or store-bought is fine. Oh my gosh. So cuts to her boyfriend, who's clearly screwed now. He's able to write again, but he's sold his soul, so he's essentially screwed. He actually even writes out like Jughead Jones is damned to hell, like to check if he can write a sentence. So then it cuts
right there.
So like
Tabitha right, like I love you, Tabby.
Yeah.
Home soon.
He's like, me be screwed forever.
You can't.
Yeah, it's so useless. So then it cuts to Betty, and she's like basically in shock, and she's sitting in a chair, and she's covered in dirt, and she gets a call from the FBI office, and the FBI office is like, oh, by the way, like Glenn has been missing, so like we got a call.
Gagged.
I was gagged about the fact that she goes, Glenn's wife called and said that he hasn't been coming. He didn't come home.
He hasn't been coming? That's not good.
That too. But that's the thing. I was like, I wrote down as a side note, he was married while he was effing Betty.
Like, this is like too much. Like, how had she never knew that? The gag would have been if she knew that.
She did know that. She's like, you are pure evil. You did not give shit when he was effing you and still had a wife and probably a kid.
That would have been even bigger twist. Double twist.
Double, triple, quadruple twist. Betty is evil and she remains to be evil forever.
Oh, that would have been good.
Yeah, so it turns out that he was out here married and adulterating with Betty all this time.
Messed up.
And then she's like, I don't know where he is. Goodbye. She hangs up.
So then it's like
it pans down and he's like in the floorboards.
Like he's dead.
Yeah, he's dead in the floorboards. Like his eyes are open, but he's dead.
It's just like he can't be the TBK now because it's like, how does he have so much time to do everything? Like, he's having an affair. He's a serial killer. It's like too many things.
So he's definitely not the TBK at this point. I'm pretty sure we can safely say he's not. Even in Riverdale, I don't think that he is. I mean, I don't know.
I just don't know. Sure. There's no other character. That's what I'm trying to think about. I'm like, which other character they're going to make the TBK?
But that's the thing. I feel like the one character who doesn't exist within Riverdale is the TBK. Like he doesn't have a connection. Like they're not going to make him have a connection to anybody. Okay,
I see what you're saying.
Because if it's another fucking Blossom, I'm going to lose my goddamn mind.
I do think like the meaning behind the TBK storyline is like her own battle with it. Like it's not so much about who is the TBK. It's like, how does the TBK make Betty feel? That's like, I feel like the struggle of like that whole storyline anyways. So you're right. Maybe it doesn't really matter who the TBK ends up being.
Yeah, I think so. So anyway, she's got him in the floorboards and she's messed up about it. Then it cuts to Veronica and Reggie talking, and it turns out that she was able to broker a deal with the devil. Congratulations, Veronica, you did it. And so she decides that she's going to supply the devil with a soul once a week for the rest of her natural life.
Like that's a lot.
And I know I was like, that's a lot of people.
Like once a week, I thought like maybe once a year at least.
Yeah, once a year makes a lot more sense.
Once a year, yeah.
Once a week, that's like 72.
She's not gonna have like staff.
Yeah, she's gonna kill everybody in Riverdale. She's gonna send everybody straight to hell. So Reggie's like, oh my God, you're such a genius, great job. And that's when they get a knock on the door, and she goes, oh yeah, by the way, like my first soul that I'm giving up is yours, boo boo. And she says, like, what?
I don't need your D, but I do need your S.
Soul. That is genius. I don't need your D, but I do need your S.
Soul.
Soul. So she says, like, you betrayed me, you done effed up. You're going straight to hell. So she says, you might as well open that door and take it like a man. Or be a little bitch and get you kicking and screaming out of here. So he's like, oh no, I fucked
again.
up.
I've never seen Reggie like this before. Like he was terrified. He was acting like so scared. I was like, I've never seen this Reggie.
I mean, it's
and
the devil, so.
I know, no, but like, you know what I mean? Like he was even scared of her because like he realized what the F he had done. Again, I just feel like in that moment, if he was like, well, you did this to my car, I would have been like, oh my God, he's so petty. Yeah. Go die. Go to the devil. Like it would have made me laugh a little bit. But like getting to the end and being like, but what was he like so thing about? Like, I don't understand. Like, why did he screw her over so hard? Like,
I don't know. I mean,
I get why he did it because of the casino, but like obviously the devil comes knocking. Like you're gonna have to do something eventually.
Right, for sure.
But I guess he pinned it on her. Yeah.
He didn't realize. He didn't realize that his real eyes were gonna be his lies. Anyway, I'm not even gonna go there.
What?
No, I was gonna say I have a beanie that says that. It says realize. It's like realize. Anyway.
Realize. And then realize.
Yeah.
I got it.
Thanks, Abby. So anyway, she sends him to hell, and then that's kind of the end of the whole episode. The narrator, Jughead, says Rivervale is the final battleground for good and evil. And then it kind of swings to the window and it says, Rivervale, a hell of a town.
It's a hell of a town. First of all, I love that whole scene with like him talking and Veronica's in the back. Yeah. And she's just like drinking and he's like just thinking. He's doing his like talking. And I just, there's something really cool about those scenes where he breaks the fourth wall, but then the scene is still happening in the background.
Right.
I just really thought it was cool.
It was cute.
Yeah.
I like the way that they're ending all these episodes. Like, like I said, very like Alfred Hitchcocky, Tales from the Crypt vibes. Good episode. I enjoyed it.
It was good.
It was good. It's keeping me like going in.
It is.
Instead of being like, what is this nonsense? You know what I mean?
So this week we lost Reggie.
We lost Reggie. It's gone.
Kevin.
He's gone.
And Kevin. No,
I mean, Kevin's not
he sold his soul, but not
sold his soul, and so did Jughead. So like we know that those guys are basically screwed once this war
Jughead
happens.
Didn't get it back.
No, he sold his soul. Like that's it.
Right, because then he was like, okay.
Like you should have just talked to your girlfriend. Like I done said from the beginning of this episode. Like what the fuck?
Do you think we'll get the devil back? Like, do you think he'll have to come back at some point?
Yeah, I think one of our listeners said that we're gonna be seeing the devil again. Like he's gonna be an arc, not just for this. I don't know if it's gonna. I think it might carry over. I'm not 100% sure if they're gonna be able to resolve all this in
though. Like I don't mind it.
2 episodes. I really still would have liked, like you said to your point, Sabrina's, but. Because he is a good devil for sure. Anyway, we'll see what happens in the next couple episodes. Because after this arc, like I don't know what's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
So next week is 4.
4.
Is
4,
that when
5,
Sabrina comes in?
Yeah, she's coming in next episode.
Okay.
Episode 4. Episode 5, and then that's it, right?
That's it. Yeah,
just 2 more episodes, and then like the Riverdale arc is over.
Yeah.
But what does that mean for the rest of the season?
100%.
What carries over? That's all the questions that we have.
But like real talk, apparently Lily had a IG live last night.
Yeah.
And she said that season 7 is probably the last season of Riverdale.
I mean, not to say that I done said that shit, but I done said that shit. And how do you feel about it?
Did you?
I've always said, because I knew that their contracts were running up in season 7. I knew that was like the renewal would happen anyway. Okay. Number 2, the show after 100 episodes, which is going to happen in 2 episodes. By the end of episode 5, it's their 100th episode. And I didn't know this, but in TV land, once you get to 100 episodes, your show gets officially syndicated, which means it can play for like now until eternity. It officially just becomes a show that like becomes canon, and like people will watch so much of it because you have so many episodes. So I feel like once they've checked off all those boxes, like what else do they need to do? The characters, the actors are kind of like, you can tell.
I think it's more the actors being like, we want
KJ out. Just had a baby.
Yeah. And I think they want to do bigger projects.
Totally.
Like, and it's true. Like after 7 seasons, what else story do you have to tell? Like
how much more story? Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how they end the series though, because like now that we're looking toward the end of it, like one season, which is going to be kind of wacky and crazy. What's going to happen in season 7? I don't know. I
hope season 7 is a complete replica of season 1 in the sense that like it just becomes like bare bones Riverdale. And that's how they ended off. That's how we started. Reminisce. That's how we ended off.
Would be great if they go all the way back to high school.
No.
Just reset the whole damn thing. Wow. That I'd love to know everyone else's thoughts on the fact that season 7 will be the final season, because
now it's not confirmed, obviously, like it's not confirmed in stone, but like she said, it's probably most likely. And again, coming from a main character like that, to me sounds like they're over it. They're ready to move on with their lives and like start their carears, because at this point like they need to like start doing like bigger projects, you know,
because if they really don't, then they're going to be stuck knowing to be like known and typecast as like the Betty and the Archie. Like they need to know that they can do other things outside.
And like
of this
Lily is like gonna do amazing things. Like her,
I can't wait for her to win an Oscar. My gosh, I can't wait. All right, let's get into some comments. Are we getting comments from our listeners about the episode?
Yeah, let's do quick ones from our Instagram. Yeah. We got a message from Kat. She says, I love how it's styled. I have to rewatch and pay more attention to the little things, but I'm loving the tone of these. I think it's really cool. Such a funny episode. Honestly, could not laugh throughout, but love the acting. I don't know why, but the acting and commitment to these short stories that are being told are very refreshing, because even though the stories are bizarre and really stepping into these genres, it still feels more natural than the normal Riverdale episodes. These characters look so much less robotic. It's organic, it's fun, and actual fun, while remaining absurd, but we lead into it and learn to go with it happily, in contrast to how Riverdale was before. And then we have...
I love that comment. Thank you so much for your very thorough comment.
Yeah, I think that's it from Instagram. Oh, okay, wait, cool. Sorry. Hold on. We have best moments of the episode. Do you want to do that right now or after?
Let's go into ours first, and then we'll get to our listener roundups.
Okay.
All right, let's do it.
Recap roundups.
Best moment.
What was your best moment?
My best moment is the Lady Gaga Veronica Marry the Night. It was, you know, like coming off of a week where like she did annoy me. This one I was like so into her, and like she pulled that freaking performance off, and everything she was doing, like I was saying, like she was the most normal one out of every single person in that episode. She was acting like Veronica Lodge.
She was being herself. Yeah.
And she kicked ass on that stage,
and she was smart. Amazing. She was like, she figured out a solution. She screwed over her ex-boyfriend at that point. Like she's like, bye. It was a great moment. My best moment, and I know this is controversial, Brave for you, but Betty killing Glenn. I enjoyed that whole sequence, the way that it all kind of played out. I think, like I was saying with this episode, it was like lots of twists and turns. Like you never really knew what was going to happen. And even when she like unmasks him and realizes that it's Glenn, I was like, even though we don't care about him and really don't care about like what's going to happen with him, I was kind of gagged. I was like, oh snap. They like she did that. Like she is gone, and she's gone and killed somebody. To your point, I totally agree. What's going to happen next? I don't know. I'd love to see a little bit more consequence to her struggle. And like, I kind of like low key would love to see her become like the devil's right hand woman. Like that'd be really interesting to see her like really turn into this evil person. Because like they have been playing with that good evil of all the characters, her more than anyone else this entire series. So if she finally is like, you know what, y'all, I am evil and I'm down for this, I'd be like, sickening.
It'd be cool to see for sure. Would you think that the black wig will come back?
Betty in a black wig, Dark Betty. I'm down for Dark Betty to come back with that black wig.
I don't think she's down for it.
She's gonna be like,
I think I think to your point, like I was definitely gagged by that moment when like she revealed it, but if episode 4 has another reveal, I'm gonna be really annoyed, because you guys can't keep relying on like reveals to like be the gag moment of like your episode. Like we had it last week with Tony, got it again this week. Like come on, guys, like do something different.
WTF moment.
What was your WTF moment?
WTF moment, it is that moment for me when she kills him.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, he had called her earlier. Like they had a conversation. How can this be him?
It was a twist.
What's happening? Like I was just very confused all around with like the train of events of her story. And it sounded like from Twitter, like a lot of people were very confused by it as well.
Right.
It's like, where is this going?
Yeah.
Where is this going to end up? Is she hallucinating? You know, like it's just
like
a lot
is
of different
all
things.
In her mind? Is the TBK even in her own brain?
Like, did he even call her in the beginning, or was it the devil? Oh, so the devil can just like call. He could like fake everyone's voice now. Like that's just what it is.
He has like a voice coder. Yeah. No, that's a really good point. My WTF moment is when we find out that Reggie sold Veronica's soul, like promised to the soul.
That one too, for sure. Yeah.
I was gagged. Like that was the first gag of the episode where I was like, "Wow, Reggie, you done did that. That was so fucked up."
Broke my heart.
Yeah. She didn't even like cry about it. She was like, "You little shit."
I mean, the girl has no time. The guy's like, midnight, like you're dead. She's like, I need to fucking sing Lady Gaga right now.
She's like, I gotta put my hair in a ponytail.
I'm not gonna cry.
Like, I gotta walk this out. Yeah, true Veronica fashion.
MVP.
Who's your MVP?
MVP was Veronica, because like who else would it be this episode? She was so lit. She like figured her shit out. She screwed him over in the end. She delivered a bomb ass line, and she used the word bitch in a good way this time, and she didn't overkill it.
It was actually enjoyable. Yeah,
it was enjoyable, and her performance. And like I said again, she to me right now is the one character that is staying true to who they are. She seems the most sound. She seems the most like logical still. So big ups to Veronica. She finally made it to my MVP. It's been a long time.
Welcome back to the MVP world, because it has been a hot minute. Mine is going to go to Tabitha, because like Veronica, I think we need to shout her out. She saved her like grandpa. Like,
I didn't choose her because you chose her, but you're right. Yeah.
She was great. I think she was great this episode. She saved her grandpa. She saved Pops. She hung out with an angel. She fought the devil. Like, what does this girl not do?
So
the one thing that she doesn't do is save her own boyfriend. So
she doesn't need to save him.
She ain't got no.
She gotta save them onion ring.
Yeah,
that's more important.
Those milkshakes are way more important.
Yeah, the freaking milkshake is the thing that saved everyone.
Yeah, because the milkshakes bring all the boys to the yard.
And it takes the devil away from the yard.
Yeah. He gets extracted from the yard. No.
Leave.
She's
so
great.
who was Raphael? He was an angel, I guess.
He was
right?
an angel.
Like
yeah.
Okay.
He's like, I am someone who is very high up in the angel world. Possibly my boss is God. You know.
I have wings.
Oh my God. He's just like a messenger. He just like dropped off tears and left.
Aww.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this all plays out, because now that her boyfriend is like, his soul is like sold to the devil, she's gonna be like, what the fuck? Like, what do I do now?
Maybe she'll eventually see that she is dating a waste man. Finally, like she literally
that gets her out.
warded off the devil, and he sold his soul to the devil.
This is what happens when you guys don't text each other in the middle of the day. Just text your loved ones, okay?
Like, what
just
is happening right now?
See what's going on. They might have bought the wrong meat from the deli. You never know.
Yep.
You need to call them up. You need to just check in.
Did you get the right meat from the deli, J-Lag? Did you get the salami you wanted?
I sold it to the devil, and I got beans instead. LVP. Who's your LVP?
LVP is Reginald, because he just he screwed our girl over really hard, and I felt like it wasn't necessary, really.
That must have been a gut punch for you, because that's your man, eh?
It's my man.
Yeah.
And like to see my man act like this, like he acted like a little beesh. So it was like, it was like like no wonder Cammy broke up with him. Like this episode probably solidified, and she was like, no.
She's like, I wrote the script, I wrote this story, because this is what he did in real life. My LVP is going to go to I wrote down either Jughead or Reggie. So if you said Reggie, I'm going to say Jughead, and you said for obvious reasons, Wasteman.
Yeah, I mean,
you just kind of like lost it for me. I was just like, what's wrong with you?
The best line.
What was your best line?
Best line is from, you know what, Veronica just owned this whole list for me this episode.
Full out.
When she says, "Go on, Reggie. Be a man about it, or he'll drag you out kicking and screaming like a little bish." And I was like, when they use it right, it hits. Like, it does hit. It's when they use it like, you bish, and then you're like, okay, guys, like, we get it.
Like,
this one was really good. And she said it really good. So
she said that.
To her.
She said that B word real hard.
Yeah.
On national
After
television.
the Gaga performance, she had the strength.
She had the strength because Gaga, her mother monster, gave her the power to say bitch.
Mother monster.
My best line is going to when Betty says, "Let me guess, the true face of evil is me," and it's not her. I laughed at it because like it's the thing that happens in all the movies. If I were to have accidentally killed someone who's masked, I would have ripped it off and been like, "It's me."
And we're like, "It's me." But again, they couldn't do that again when they just did it last week with Tony.
Yeah, but I guess
that one was like gag number one.
Yeah, but she also like knew she was turning into the La Llorona.
Oh, that's true.
La Llorona. I still can't say it. A whole week after.
La Llorona.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. All right, let's get into our listener roundups. We got a couple to go. I'll do the first one. At Desert and Micah says, best moment, Betty and TBK. It was legit scary and intense, and I thought it was a good scene. Shout out. WTF moment, the whole devil storyline, and Glenn having a wife. Very true. We were gagged by that as well. MVP, Tabitha, Pop, Betty, and Veronica. LVP, I'm like, let's stick it to one person next time, but it's okay. LVP, Kevin. It's like the whole cast. The other half of the cast is LVP.
Just realized that.
LVP, Kevin, Jughead, Reggie, Nick St. Clair, forgot about Nick St. Clair, and Glenn. And we actually did have a listener shout us out and ask what they were, just as a quick FYI for everyone who wants to submit a roundup. LVP is a play on MVP, which is most valuable player in sports, which I have no idea about. And LVP would be like least valuable player. So someone that like really sucked this episode. So send them in next time. You do the next one.
At MTV Hoa, best moment, Tabitha and Pop tricking the devil. MVP, Veronica. She was very smart in this episode, and I'm happy to see her shine finally. See?
Shine.
You shine.
She shined.
LVP, Reginald. Best line, Reggie. He didn't want my soul. He said it was a miserable, paltry thing. V, it is. When did they say that? That's hilarious. I don't remember that.
I guess when he like offered up his soul, like when he explains
he didn't want
himself.
my soul. He said it was a miserable. Oh, that's so sad.
Because he's probably
like when POS. The devil doesn't even want your soul, like that's bad.
You need to like get
check
it together,
yourself,
son.
We had a couple of roundups from Instagram. Sarah _ Al Hirsch. When Tabitha and Pop Tate quite literally kicked the devil's ass out the door.
Bye, bitch.
And then Kat says, it's not unusual. Nah, nah. She liked that moment.
That moment.
Girl, you like that moment?
Like, you like that moment. I'm so happy for you. Thank you, everyone, for checking us out this episode. Let's get into our quick Patreon shout outs. I would like to take this time to thank our patrons of the episode. We have our Rewinder squad, White and Nicole, our Lit Rewinders, Tina Ann, Soleil and Kate, and our Mommy Rewinders and a Daddy Rewinder, Becca, Sarah, Tamala, and Cliff. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. If you'd like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind.
And also make sure you all are checking us out on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. You can also find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iTunes. Make sure you are liking and subscribing, following, reviewing, and commenting to engage with us at Recap Rewind. Thank you so much for listening and watching.
Happy December.
Oh my God, happy December. Bye.
Bye.